Hi everyone, I'm Megan Williamson with Ocean Rehab and Fitness, and today I am here with the lovely Mary Jo Federley, and we are here today to discuss and just have a bit of a conversation about some of your questions regarding yoga, adaptive yoga specifically, and exercise, and what we can see or get from the benefits of having either of those or both of those in our daily or weekly routines. So, Mary Jo, I'd like you to just maybe introduce yourself for anyone that doesn't know who you are.
Sure. Hi, everybody, and welcome. So great that we're doing this. Thanks, Megan. It was such a good idea. I'm 62 years old, a mother of two. My youngest daughter just had her 33rd birthday, and it's a great celebration for us both. Just because we've been through a lot, especially with the spinal cord injury, which happened when I just turned 47. So I've been in a chair for 17 years. I'm a C4-5 quad, Asia A complete, which of course always gets questioned by the doctors because I think through yoga and through just many other things that I think all of you kind of are also aware of, we can maybe push the envelope a little bit, not so live by what the diagnosis says. So just pushing the boundaries of what's possible is kind of what I like to do. And I've always been into body work and into natural and alternative therapies for many different reasons. And throughout my life, they've been just a wealth of resource and also information and attitude about how to live in my body. So it's been a great teacher, all these different things like yoga that have come to me. So I practiced and taught yoga for almost 25 years before I became injured. So lucky for me, I had that background and that backdrop before I was injured. And and we'll talk more about that. I went on to, do many things. I was traditionally a chef. And then I did psychology and social work as a degree. Not quite finished, still working on that. And I also, of course, had a yoga studio and a yoga company for many years. So that's me. And I have developed an adult program.
I had no idea you were a chef. That's really cool. That's awesome. Very cool. So a wealth of knowledge here with Mary Jo, which is great. And so one of the first questions, and some of these are specific from some of our followers in the community, and then some are a bit more general questions that Mary Jo and I have been asked in the past by some of you. So the broad question a lot of people get is, what is the benefit that we get from yoga? But what I'd like you to kind of talk about is, you did yoga, like you said, you were a huge pioneer in yoga before your accident, before your spinal cord injury. So can you talk a little bit about the differences of benefit you got from prior to your injury, and then maybe the benefits you got after, and what the difference is for you?
Oh, that's a great question. So prior to my injury, I was quite an athlete. I did a lot of extreme sports, and I actually broke my neck skiing. And I was a single mother. So in those days, like way back, yoga was my stress relief. It was basically where I went to not be so sort of not high strung, but maybe a little bit, and to just balance my body and mind a little bit, because I could tend to be really go and not stop. So, and as a single mother, I just found that my adrenal glands and everything was getting depleted with a lot of work and stuff. So yoga was my stress relief in those days. And then yoga, that was in my 30s when the kids were little, and I was running, 3 jobs in the studio and whatnot. Later, when things died down a little bit with me as a parent, and also just logistically, yoga became a place for me that was my own place where I could explore being in control completely of my physical body in ways that I couldn't find in like extreme sports. So people that do extreme sports really love the adrenaline and the risk, but they also love that that they can will their body to get through that jump or do that particular thing or that obstacle yoga can be a lot like that too. Like when you get into the more difficult poses, the balancing poses and whatnot, you're really playing with the mind. And that's really where I loved my practice, because I could balance on one hand and hold my body up in the air, upside down, and, for 3 or 4 minutes. And to me, that was the pinnacle of being able to pull everything into a focal point with focus, not even just the mental focus, but the body, mind, energy focus, and be able to direct my body at will. And that was what I really loved about yoga, sort of later in my life. Post-injury, yoga and the whole practice of yoga became a very different thing. And my yoga, so it's really evolved from the beginning of my injury to now. And maybe, I know you have another question further on about this, maybe we'll get to that a bit more, but I would say initially yoga was like it was my grounding rod. It was my anchor to what I knew my body, to how I knew my body, and to how I approached being in my body even when paralyzed.
Wow, it's really cool that you had that to fall back on. That's amazing. And no wonder doctors, and we'll get more into this later, but it's no wonder doctors are shocked at your Asia level. If anybody of you has seen Mary Jo's posture, it's pretty amazing. So something that kind of got me thinking too, when you said about in your pre-injury days with yoga, how it's such a stress release for you. And I think a lot of that is the breath that comes with yoga. And so some of my clients and some people I know that might not be familiar with yoga, that's the first thing they ask about is what's with the breathing in yoga. So can you explain how big of a puzzle piece yoga is and why the breath is so important?
That's a great description. It is a puzzle piece, the breath piece, and mostly because our breathing, so breath is the one physical thing that we do that connects the 3 attributes of our body. So our energetic body, the things we don't see breath, with the mind and with the physical. So we do move the breath through our body, so we know it's there. And so in yoga, those 3 attributes, being able to take one kind of quality or one mechanism, which is breathing, and to be able to tap into those 3 different elements of our body and of what we are, is really powerful. And the yogis saw that really early on. And so breath control, which we see in everything from singing to, an elite athlete doing it before they, go out of the chute or whatever, to deep sea divers, the breath control thing is a huge piece. And so from the physical body, of course, we need oxygen, and we need to oxygenate our blood, and we need to move lymph and all sorts of things. And so breath, because it moves through every area of the body in a way that we don't see fluids moving through the body, it's a powerful piece to tap into from the physical for many different reasons. That's one. The energetic piece is that the breath, because it is the kind of ephemeral, unseen piece of our being, it starts to give us that quality of relationship to our energy body in a way that we can start to then tap into those attributes more, because breath, of course, isn't the only energetic aspect. And then the third piece, which is the mind, our breathing directly affects our mind and our brain, because we have these 2 very distinctive nervous systems, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. And the sympathetic, which is our fight or flight, is often what we're running, when we're up and about, which is a really important part of our nervous system. But it also tends to, especially in our culture, to be really switched on, and nobody can really figure out how to switch the hit off. So when they get home from work, they're still, doing 20 million things. Their mind's going, in 4 different directions, and they can't just calm into the moment like, I'm done. And so breathing is the way that we can learn to access the mind, to control the mind. So we control the mind through breath, and then breath actually starts to control, or we control the breathing through, consciousness, bringing more consciousness to it with the mind. But then eventually the breath actually controls the mind, and it actually is able to bring us from that sympathetic system into a more balanced and a more resourceful parasympathetic state.
Awesome. That's a great description. That's really cool. It just kind of reminds you, I am one of those people that likes to go, go, go. And it just really reminds me that that's something, that I need to bring more into my practice. And so, yeah, actually a question that I had for you. So I'm a bit of a gym rat, and I'm a personal trainer for those of you that don't know me. And I work in gyms. I work with people with disabilities. I work with able-bodied people, but so naturally a lot of my training is going to be for myself in a gym setting. But when I am doing yoga and I have a regular practice, I do find that carryover into my training is so much better. I find my breathing is a lot better with my heavier lifts. I find my technique gets better because I'm more aware of the body scan that I've done probably the day before. So I know that you work out sometimes. I've actually met you at the at Park at the Physical Activity Research Center. So from your background of having a bit more yoga as your daily practice instead of gym work, how do you find your exercise in the gym benefits from your practice?
Oh, that's a great question. And I love the gym, and I know we're going to talk a little bit more about the 3 ways of exercising. But I will say, just off the top, to answer directly, I like you said too, it's the capacity to bring more awareness into what you're doing, which is really what yoga teaches us. This quality of what has now been called, and it's kind of very common, is mindfulness, which comes from yoga. So when we bring consciousness to the breath, which if I just backed up for a minute and said, when you get back from those busy days, the other reason why breathing is so important, because it's so easy to just switch when you become conscious of it. And it's incredibly effective. It's almost immediate that you can move from sympathetic to parasympathetic. So when I'm in the gym, clearly you might want to be more, in the sympathetic tone, because you're exercising. But actually, that's not true. You can exercise in the parasympathetic state too and get benefits from that, which is really what you do when you do yoga. But just to say, when you're in the gym and you're doing a workout, when I'm in the gym doing a workout, I bring that quality of mindfulness to what I'm doing. And so I'm not going to do something out of alignment that might hurt me. I'm going to be able to, I think, attune more easily to my limit, and also to where I can push a bit more. My body awareness is heightened just because I'm aware and I'm exercising. And so that extra oxygenated blood to the brain, I think, is really valuable. And so I can then also direct that with a bit more consciousness to my breath, to say my organs, or to in between a workout, do a twist so that I can flush my kidneys or whatever it might be. So I think the combination is brilliant. And we'll talk more, I think, about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, I mean, there's a lot of my clients that don't really do yoga, but they're curious, and a lot of them want to. And I think, especially after hearing this talk, they might be a little more inclined to trying a bit of yoga. So, from your experience, somebody with a physical disability, let's say MS, or spinal cord injury, and they're confined to some type of wheelchair or power chair, where would they start? Like, what do you suggest they would start with trying to get into a yoga practice if they have no experience of that?
So it's always good to work with a teacher. I think you would agree, like, for yourself and what you do, and you're so good at what you do, and you can see things in your clients that they can't always see in themselves, and especially when someone has a little bit less body connectivity through paralysis, perhaps. I think I would recommend always to go to a teacher, first of all, so that the teacher can actually teach you how to do yoga, because like anything in this field, you want to be doing it with the proper alignment, the proper positioning, and you want the methodology to be, I think, it's like starting a car. You don't put the wrong key in the ignition to start the car. So you really want to get the right keys to kind of move those things forward. So a yoga teacher, I would recommend. And then I would say your yoga teacher, or if you don't have that and you're just doing it online, you're not in an area that has that, you would start with the basics, which would be breathing and working in your chair from where you're at right now. You don't need to change anything. So you can do all sorts of things from a chair, breathing, visualization. And don't forget, yoga isn't just the physical things like the postures and the breathing. Yoga also incorporates this whole sort of backdrop of visualizing, of mindfulness, of all the different ways that we can meditate or direct our energy, sound. So those are the areas that I would recommend for that beginner person, because those are really accessible entry points. They don't require equipment or anything. And at best, you could probably go onto my YouTube channel and do a beginning class and have that teacher right there for you.
That's awesome. Yeah, you do have a lot of good resources online, especially now we're in kind of mid-post COVID while we're doing this. So I think we've all kind of had to transition a bit to online, which can be good for some people that just want to start in their chair and start with the basics. So awesome. I'd like to get into the topic of pain, which is a bit more on a serious note. So many people with physical disabilities deal with pain, whether it's neuropathic pain, chronic from something else, from trauma, right? The body has ways of showing that in different ways. So we know yoga and exercise can help with pain. Specifically for like exercise with my clients, any type of stretching routine, deep breathing before they do their workout, proper alignment, any type of physio or rehab work to help with getting the muscles back to being balanced or something that's compensating for another. Things like that can help with pain. But are there any specific ways from your point of view, in your eyes, as a yogi instructor, that can help for people with chronic pain, whether it's, from their accident or trauma or other?
So the topic of pain is a really important one, and it's one that I think really needs to be addressed through a really good lens of what pain is in the nervous system. And a lot of the research now, because we can now do this type of imaging, functional MRI and whatnot, can show that actually chronic pain especially is more of a loop in the brain than it is actual pain in the body. And so to look at pain, it requires us to do three things. So first of all, what you suggested is brilliant. So being really conscious about the fascial connections in the body and how there's this sort of beautiful web of connective tissue that isn't even muscular. It's really like saran wrap that weaves itself around the organs, the muscles, the different all the different tubes that move through the body, such as the nerves, which are essentially a tube, your tendons, which are like a tube, your ligaments, which are like tubes. And so all of these connecting things that happen in our body are where we store information about pain. And there's kind of plexuses of nerve bundles before each joint. And anyway, we won't get too anatomical, but when we do long, slow, eccentric and concentric movement, we start to give those and especially in paralyzed people, they start to really shorten all of those things I described. So we start to give more fluidity into that system. And that's really done through mindfulness and through breathing. So for that person that's in pain, the first place I would start would be those two areas. Be doing the breathing practice and a mindful practice. When we become conscious of something in our body, it's kind of an interesting paradox in the healing tradition. But awareness is 97% of the cure. So as you become aware and you direct energy there, the body actually responds. And that loop in the brain, that sort of sympathetic loop of I'm chronic, I'm in pain, I'm going to react this way, starts to be intermediated. And the more you intermediate there, the more choice you give the nervous system, the more the pain starts to subside.
Interesting. And that's probably how pain is created too, right? At the beginning, it's that over and over, and it just adapts, and now that's the loop. So we would have to do the opposite, right? We would have to kind of, it's not going to happen overnight, right? It's going to take time and practice. Yeah.
Which is what, is what yoga is all about, and even exercise. I mean, these practices are meant to be like brushing your teeth. And I think a lot of people go, I don't want to practice yoga because it's, too complicated, or, you have to do it too often or whatever. Well, you know what? If you did it often, you probably wouldn't have to go to the doctor as often either. So,
yeah. So this actually ties in really nice. This is a question from one of our community members. So this person has neuropathic pain and chronic pain from trauma. And she says, I find it very hard to dive into my body. I try body scans, and the pain is just too much, and I find that I break down when I focus on that body part. What can I do, or how can my yoga practice help train my mind to go there? So I think it sounds like she does yoga, but I think she's wondering how she can kind of not have that blockage when it is painful and she gets to that point. What can she do to kind of...
So the first thing I would say is that your description at the very beginning was that when, she doesn't know how to dive into her body. And for a lot of people with chronic pain, when it gets really, chronic, it's like you also in your brain, you get to the sense or the place where you feel like your body's betrayed you, and you feel like you can't do anything to win. And so you kind of get a love-hate relationship with your own body. And that can be pretty detrimental in the sort of loop of chronic pain. And you also mentioned that she has chronic pain from trauma. And what I just described earlier, that sort of that neuroplasticity of the brain to look for other solutions becomes totally locked. It's not accessible. And we know now, as I said, from the functional MRI and various other somatic psychotherapy and neurobiology, that we actually hold trauma in the brain, in a part of the brain called the amygdala. And that part of the brain is in the primitive part of the nervous system. So it's very primitive. If you can think of like a little child that's gone into a temper tantrum, you want to think of pain and chronic pain like that. And there's hardly anything you can do to stop that child from going, except going over and just holding them and just being really compassionate and just saying, I'm just going to be with you until you get through this. So that's kind of how we have to approach chronic pain. And so initially, you're not even going to do anything. You're just going to be mindful. You're going to actually start to switch the brain's mechanism of thinking around the pain. That's the first step. And so switching that mechanism in the brain is going in and, being with the pain, but also being with everything else that's going on, and looking at it as not an either or. I'm all pain and I'm nothing else, but I'm pain here. Oh, and I notice that I can take a deep breath here. Oh, and I notice that, my shoulders actually feel good today. Oh, but it's still down here. So you kind of play this, very grandparently type role to your body, because you have to befriend the body. You can't be at war with your own body. And you can't also feel like you've been betrayed by your body, because your body didn't betray you. It's doing the best it can. So I think compassion, curiosity, and this idea that you're going to attend to this to help yourself is really the best place to start with her.
That's really great. I think it's interesting what you say, because it's kind of like, and people can disagree, but I would probably think that most people that live with chronic pain, if they had if they had a friend tell them the same things, they would be so compassionate towards them and just tell them to relax and breathe, and it's okay, and your body didn't betray you. But then when it's all about ourselves, it changes. It's like our standards are like apparently we are different. And it's a nice reminder to hear that. Yeah, that's good. So and the next question is for each of us. So I'll let you go first. Someone living with an SCI, how can doing yoga, that's your point of view, and then exercise, my point of view, help improve the relationship that I have with my body? So it kind of ties in with what we were just talking about.
And I think both of our points of view are probably going to be somewhat similar in some ways. But I would say the relationship we have with our body is actually paramount to the relationship we have to life, because this is the vehicle our consciousness travels in. And so, as we just said, the more we befriend and treat ourselves, physically, mentally, and energetically, with care and kindness, the more our body will respond similarly. And I really just believe that the idea, or the whole idea of yoga is this place of union. That's what the word actually means, to join together. Yoga, or yug, or yugu, yoga, as it was back in the Sanskrit days, is actually the joining. So it's like the union of the body, mind, and spirit. So that's for me really the as Virginia Woolf would say, you can't get out of your body, so you may as well befriend it.
I like that. That's really cool. Yeah. I mean, similar, just in different words. I think in a gym setting, whether you have a physical disability or not, the biggest thing is comparison, which means you're out of your body, right? It's, well, they can do that, why can't I do that? And it's like, you can't compare your body to someone else or your journey. And that's, like I said, whether you're able-bodied or not. And I think focusing on the things you can do is really helpful, especially if you do have limitations. If you're somebody that maybe is newly injured and you're going back into the gym and you used to do that on 2 feet, and now you're in a chair, focus on the things you can do now and the things that you are excelling at, right? Not, oh, but I used to be able to do that. Well, yeah, but your body is still now able to do ABC, and you're getting stronger because of it, right? And so I think that's the biggest thing. Actually, one of my clients, I'll steal this from her. It's amazing. She lives with a disability. I won't give too much away just because of confidentiality, but she has written an index card for every exercise that she can do. And she has a huge stack now. We've been working together for a year. And she has this massive stack of things she can do on her own around the house in her home workouts. And she's so confident, and it's amazing because she's embracing the things she can do. And she's excelling because of it. And yeah, it's just so great to see. So I think that's a cool lesson for even myself, who can be very hard on myself. It's a really good lesson to just stay in your body and be grateful and have the gratitude for the amazing gift our body gives us, regardless of what your limitations are.
Yeah.
So, yeah, cool. Okay, another question. So this is for both of us. How have you been coping or handling since the COVID-19 changes with regards to your body, not having park, and specifically any health appointments that you may have?
You want to go first, or is that for both of us?
It's for both of us. I think the health appointments might be for you because this person is also living with an SCI. I can go first. So for me personally, I'm lucky to have adapted a lot of my workouts at home. Obviously, I'm not going to have the same amount of equipment, but I make do. I'm a huge social person too. So for when COVID was real and we were really, really shut down, I use Zoom as a great tool. I would do weekly workouts with girlfriends in Australia and LA. We'd be meeting at crazy times to accommodate each other. And that really kept me motivated, because it's really hard to find motivation when you're not even seeing anyone. So for me, that was really, really helpful. And just staying in touch with clients as best as I can. And honestly, like, online stuff has been such a savior. And luckily I haven't had to go to any medical appointments, but just trying to eat really good food and get sleep and not stress, and doing some yoga as well while I've been home. So that's been what I've been doing.
Yeah, I mean, similarly, I've actually been busier than I was prior to COVID because I work with the University of Toronto. We do the peer health coaching, and I'm a health coach. And so, we've actually initiated, I think, a few outreach programs for our clients, which, of course, anybody can become a client with that. It's a research study for spinal cord injured people. And they pair up us coaches with clients. So that's been really busy. We do it on Zoom. We did it on Zoom before, and of course it got busier because we added in things like COVID and all sorts of stuff. So that's been amazing. And then I've had this crazy other situation going on in my life that's been really stressful. And so I have had a couple health issues because of that. Luckily, the other thing that we added in with my work with the University of Toronto SCI&U project was mindfulness practice every Wednesday. So, and you're also welcome to join that. But every Wednesday, I started doing these mindfulness sessions, and it was like this grounding rod in the middle of my week, amidst all this other legal caregiver crap that is my life, which had been causing these chronic bladder infections because of PTSD. And so I did have to go into the hospital a couple times because I had a really bad kidney infection from that. And the way I dealt with it was definitely mindfulness, and just staying really calm. I took all the precautions, wore the mask, did all that kind of stuff. But I also feel like my yoga practice and just that mindfulness has helped me to keep the perspective of COVID in a place where I'm not in fear of it. And I say that in a very humble way. I'm not bragging. I'm just really encouraging all of us to look at this, as a place that we can not kind of fall into fear, but rather create places where we're protected from the fear and from whatever that fear's potentiality might be. So that's how I've been working with it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've been seeing the activity for that class that you're offering through the University of Toronto. It looks amazing. And that was actually my next question, is if any of the listeners or viewers wanted to take your class right now, what are you offering? And I guess that would be one of them.
Yeah. So yeah, what I'm offering is that Mindfulness Wednesday, which is 12 o'clock every Wednesday, and that'll happen. It's actually a training, so it's really good for anybody that wants to learn mindfulness, because as you all know, and a lot of people that are kind of curious about yoga but go, oh no, I don't know, and they're not going toward it perhaps because they're afraid they don't know. And we do that similarly with languages or a new sport or anything. We're afraid of it because we don't want to be a beginner. And I would just like to encourage everybody to really appreciate that it is actually you are a beginner, and in being a beginner, it's okay to not be perfect, and it's okay to not get it right away. We're such perfectionists with ourselves, and we're so hard on ourselves. Mm-hmm. And really, mindfulness actually teaches us not to be so hard on ourselves. And so I think it's a really good place for us to deal with a lot of the challenges that we're having to deal with right now. So yeah, I think that mindfulness practice and the training is really important, and I offer that. Anybody can join, but I'm also starting a second group of that on my YouTube channel for anybody, so it doesn't have to be spinal cord people. And then in addition to that, I'm not doing in my studio classes right now, but because I'm writing my book and almost trying to finish it this summer. But I am offering online classes. So you can go to my website and you can either book coaching or online yoga that way.
And how can they find your YouTube channel? Is it just Mary Jo Federle?
Channel is Mary Jo Federle Adaptive Yoga, and my website is maryjo.com with a dash between the J and the Y, but no O on. Yeah.
Awesome.
Or sorry, no Mary Jo, just Mary Jo.
Miss Mary Jo. Awesome. And for those of you who want to see any other little awesome tidbits that Mary Jo has done, if you're an Ocean Insider Club member, you can go to the resources page, and she's got a bunch of really cool little videos on posture, safety with your chair and working out in the home, breathing, some really nice rotation stretches. There's like a few in there that you guys get to see that we had fun doing a while back. And Mary Jo and I hope to have a little bit more for you guys in the near future once in-person things are allowed again. So we are excited to be offering some more stuff. And thank you so much, Mary Jo, for your time today.
On that note, Megan, I don't know if it's appropriate, but we have talked about this, you and I, about doing that. And I'm really committed to doing it. And we talked about this idea of yoga fit, combining a yoga workout with an actual cardio weight workout. And I recommend becoming a member at Megan's site, like for many reasons. She's brilliant. But also, I think when you commit to something, you really show up. When you don't commit and it's free, you're kind of like, oh, I can miss it this week or whatever. But we can't miss things. When we want to learn a new language or we want to learn a new sport, you have to do it all the time to get anywhere at it and to get any benefit. So yeah, think about being a member, and we'll throw some yoga fit at you soon.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. We've been talking about that for a while, so that will be happening. Awesome. And so if you guys want more information on that, you can go to www.oceaninsiderclub.com. It's linked to my basic website, Ocean Rehab and Fitness. You can also join the private Facebook group, Ocean Rehab and Fitness. Just like the page and then ask to join. It's an awesome little community we've created. Some really cool posts, tips, tricks, nutrition, yoga, exercise, and it's also a really safe platform for you guys to ask questions and share anything that you have related to wellness and fitness and any type of physical disability that you're working with. So thank you, Mary Jo. And yeah, we will probably be doing this again. I'm sure we had talks of it. So if any of you want your questions answered, feel free to reach either of us at those contacts or social media platforms. And we look forward to doing this again. Thank you.